What up, Wolves? Blade Master here. Welcome back to the third episode of the Strength of Shock Cavalry series. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the strength of Ptolemaic Cav. And a theme that you might have noticed from my Strength of Shock Cav series so far is that I've only been focusing on elite Shock Cav. Now, you might be wondering why. And that's because at this point in this, in the game, in the state of this game, and this is very likely to change in a matter of like maybe a week or so because CA is releasing a new patch. But right now, I think there's no real place for mid-tier shock cavalry in the game. So units like Thessalians, cheap shock cav like Sarissas, Persian cavalry, Saki Equites Extraordinary. I don't really think that there's a huge role for them in this game, and I don't think that they can be very powerful units. But that's not the case with Ptolemaic Cav, Noble Horsemen, Parthian Cataphracts, like I showed in the previous episodes. So in this one I've taken Egypt, like I said, and let's take a look at my build. I've brought a total of 6 cavalry, 2 citizen cavalry on either flank and 1 Ptolemaic Cav on either flank. The citizen cav will be used ideally to engage the enemy cavalry, and then I'd use my Ptolemaic Cav to try and hammer and anvil the enemy's infantry. You can see I'm fighting against Carthage. I'm playing against a head mantis, and he's a viewer of the channel, and he wanted to try out for the Wolf of Remus clan. And of course, you guys are all very welcome and actually encouraged to try out for the clan. We'd love to have you if you're if you're a decent player and you're pretty active in playing a multiplayer Rome 2, then we'd love to have you. So he's and actually, if you want to join, then just check the description. I would have put a link to the recruitment Steam group. Anyways, besides them, I've brought a total of 5 Thorax swordsmen. Let's put this on slow motion. 1 Galatian swordsman and 1 Galatian royal guard up in the center. Yeah, that's these guys. So they're very, very expensive but very strong mid-tier infantry, and a total of 4 Levi Thuria spears. So I'm going to try and exploit Egypt's huge diversity of like unique units. So Galatian royal guard, Galatian swordsman, Levi Thuria spears. I think Levi Thuria spears are a very, very good unit. They're very cheap and they perform the same exact function of Thuria spears. But here you can see Head Mantis is doing a really cool tactic here. He's charging straight and going balls deep with his 3 Carthaginian cav, and he put them onto this diamond formation and then immediately attacked my main line, my much more powerful main line. Actually no, it's a strong main line, but his infantry are deadly. You can see he's brought some mercenary Gallic warriors. Those are not going to be his difference makers. He's brought 2 mercenary noble fighters though, and 3 mercenary Sam Knights. 1 and a couple of mercenary Gallic warriors up in the flanks. He's brought 3 late Libyan hoplites, and he's doing a very smart thing here. He knew that I'd got a very nice little surround on him, and so he's going to use his late Libyan hoplites to try and protect his expensive 3 mercenary Cretans and 1 Libyan Paltast, I believe. Yeah, and his general and bodyguard unit. So his infantry definitely outmatches mine. I've engaged his mercenary noble fighters with my mercenary thorax swordsman, and now my general is going to get a pretty devastating charge on these mercenary Gallic warriors, and they should be able to destroy this entire unit without taking any casualties. You can see they're racking up the kills, and that's because mercenary Gallic warriors, on top of being non-formation attack units, are very cheap barbarian units, so they are very, very susceptible to charges. My Galatian royal guard are chasing after these Carthaginian cavs. Exactly not what I want them to do and exactly what my opponent wants them to do. They're fighting in some useless engagement while his mercenary noble fighters are killing off my thorax swordsman. But I'm getting rear charges off, hammer and anvil charges with my gen. He's getting some counter charges with his Carthaginian cav as well. But mercenary noble fighters will be much more susceptible to a charge than thorax swordsmen. Thorax swordsmen are formation attack units. They are very heavily armored and have decent melee defense as well. But he used his late Libyan hoplites very well to screen off my cavalry. But the strength in numbers is just showing here. I'm managing to get more and more charges in with my citizen cav onto his Cretans. And my Thuria spears there just got 1 deadly volley onto his general and bodyguard, just killing off like 12 of them in a matter of seconds. And I'm just keeping on engaging them. But meanwhile, his Samnite warriors are just doing the business on my thorax swordsman. I should have put them onto shield wall. That's something that I don't really do, and that could have been very useful here. If I'd put them onto shield wall, at least they would have been able to withstand that slaughter for a longer time. My Galatian Royal Guard are killing off his Carthaginian cav, but again, that's not an engagement I want them to continue on. My Gen has done decently, and here my Ptolemaic cav just destroyed that Iberian swordsman. They could have been very difficult units to engage, because if I had allowed them to get more than a couple of volleys on my cavalry would have died. But that's exactly what these units are really useful for. 70 kills just off one charge without suffering a single casualty. His mercenary noble fighters are just killing off my thorax swordsman like nobody's business. But my Thoria spears are killing off some more of his Carthaginian cav. At this point, he doesn't have many cav at all. He already had a numbers disadvantage in cav, and now that he doesn't have any more cavalry to help out, my shock cav should be able to play a much bigger role in the game. Here they're going to get a rear charge onto those Ethiopian Hawkins, and that's just a devastating charge onto those guys' rears. 130 kills, 132, just racking up the kills over there. But the problem with shock cav is that you need to be able to micro with them well, and if you get them, or if you're too ballsy with them, basically you will start suffering, because you can see I was very aggressive with my general, and he ended up getting a lot of kills. 167 kills is quite good, but he could have done a much better job if I had used him more conservatively, like this Ptolemaic cav that you can see over here. He's getting some shots off with his Cretan archers, but my Ptolemaic cav are too far away. His mercenary noble fighters, meanwhile, are just winning him this battle very easily. His Samnite warriors have done well too, but you can see the main aggressive units in this battle are his mercenary nobles. 159 kills on them, and meanwhile my Galatian Guard, Royal Guard, have done really well too. They've got 127 kills. I've put headhunt on them, and but these mercenary Samnite warriors are very good at tanking out fights. Here my fresh unit of Ptolemaic cav is getting a rear charge onto his Carthaginian cav and onto this general blob here. Again, Samnite warriors are some of the best units to withstand a charge, especially a rear charge. And on top of that, they're doing a lot of damage too. So at this point, it doesn't look like the game is going to go in my favor. I don't have any infantry left except for this depleted unit of Galatian Royal Guard. But I do have Levi Thuria spears. And this is one reason why I love these units. This video could just as easily have been a strength of Levi Thuria spears video, because on top of being just so cheap, they actually have pretty decent melee defense stats, which makes them very useful in, like, if you can put them onto a square formation, and just end game, if you can just get them to hold off units like mercenary noble fighters, they'll actually do a pretty decent job at that. Again, Levi Thuria spears are getting attacked. I used one of them to chase off after his Cretans, and they basically killed off all of his Cretan archers. My Galatian Royal Guard has killed off that mercenary Samnite warrior, but now he's got one half strength mercenary Samnite, one half strength mercenary noble, and a couple of half strength mercenary noble fighters, and two basically full strength mercenary Samnite warriors. And I have just basically depleted units. One full strength Levi Thuria spears, which has got 111 kills, which is beautiful. Another Levi Thuria spears, which has only got 20 kills, but did really well in holding off those units. So now my other Levi Thuria spears was able to get some javelin shots on them, and now my Ptolemaic cav is going to get in another charge on these guys. Again, they're unbraced, so they will be very susceptible to that sort of charge. But mercenary Samnites are, they are much better. They're basically the unit that you want to face a charge against. So you can see they didn't lose many units at all, and that's because they've got great health. 65 health on top of being a formation attack unit means that they can be they are very difficult to break down on a charge. But again, these are some of the best shock cav we're talking about in the game. So you can see 284 kills with one of my Ptolemaic cav, but the one my general, whom I was more aggressive with, didn't manage to make as much of an impact. Here they're going to kill off these Cretan archers. I use them. I only use them if I had to, and here you can see they only had 6 units left. But I think that's going to be enough to kill off or just rout these mercenary Cretans. I'm putting my Levi Thuria spears onto square just so that they can bog down these mercenary Samnites. And I'm coming in for just one charge after charge, and this one's going to be against those mercenary noble fighters and onto their rear. So it is going to be very devastating. And these are very good units. He's put them on headhunt, but I don't think that's going to help them because they're just too depleted at this point. You can see I've got like 49, 45. Oh wow! Just off that one volley from those mercenary noble fighters, 4 of my guys have died, but they've done a great job. here what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage these mercenary nobles with my Pt.3 spears, and then they're going to keep their backs, leave their backs open to my Ptolemaic cav to get yet another charge off. 308, 310. Skills are just racking up. You know, they've basically done as good a job as side chariots in this game. So, you know, it just goes to show, if you can babysit them, if you can micro well enough with them, then they can just be absolutely deadly units. I'm just ping-ponging them from here to there to here to there, and they are getting really tired. They're very tired at this point, but they've got 335 kills. And here he's got no choice but to try and, you know, countercharge my Ptolemaic cav. But again, that's just going to mean that they're going to be unbraced, and that means more kills for my Ptolemaic cav on the charge. And once I pull them out, I'm going to remove these guys out of square formation most likely, and then just, yeah, and set an attack order so that at the very least I can bog them down. But it's looking incredibly close at this point. My opponent has 58 mercenary Samnite warriors. His mercenary noble fighters are finally routed. 295 kills on them. And now I'm going to charge in with my Pt.3 spears. Again, this is a kind of risky strategy, but it's one strategy that I'm forced to do so that I can bog these guys down. And timing is going to be crucial. As long as I can, I've put these guys. No, I haven't put them on square. I should have put them on square formation immediately. But here he's not going to be braced. But there were only two options: get a rear charge or try and counter charge with his Samnites. And you know, I think it was a right move for him to try and counter charge. But you can see 373 kills on these Ptolemaic cav. But it's again very close. My units, my Pt.3 spears are starting to waver now. If I manage to win this, it's going to be pretty crazy. In either way, it was a very close battle. Just charging in, and now I'm going to leave them. At this point, I think I'm going to leave them. After a certain point, it makes more sense to leave these units in combat than try to run away with them. And yeah, I think at this point, yeah, finally that mercenary Samnite decided to shatter and rout. So very costly victory, but it just goes to show, if you can babysit your cav, or if you can babysit your shock cav, then they can be quite deadly units. 386 kills on some really high value units from those Ptolemaic cav, 182 kills from my other Ptolemaic cav. And with regards to how many shock cav you should bring, I think if the best situation, if you want to bring some shock cav, I think the best thing to do would be to bring 2 elite shock cav like I've done here. And that's because by bringing only 2 shock cav, or bringing only 1 shock cavalry, or 1 elite tier shock cavalry, you have the difference maker in your army. You have a unit that can get 200 to 300 kills very easily at a short span of time. And secondly, you have enough money to build a pretty decently balanced army otherwise. So you can see here I brought only 2 Ptolemaic cav, but I also managed to get a pretty strong infantry corps. You can see these Galatian Royal Guard are very expensive, but they did the job. 166 kills with them. Some Thorax swordsmen are always a very solid defensive melee infantry line, and I managed to bring 4 Pt.3 spears who did a dual role of being like peltas and also helping out in the against cavalry, who could have potentially helped out against cavalry, and were very useful late game. And all of this wouldn't have been possible if I had brought like 4 Ptolemaic cav instead. And the third reason why you should bring only 2 shock cav, or maybe 2 or 3 shock cav, is that after a certain point, because these units require so much babysitting, it's going to be too hard for some people to micro them effectively. And you're going to want to have some or enough numbers of support cavalry to bog down the enemy's cavalry, because I think shock cavalry at this point is much more useful against infantry, because that charge can be so devastating against infantry. So that's the type of unit that I like to use them against. Anyways, guys, hope this video is informative and entertaining, and I'll see you soon. Peace.